and welcome to Beyond the Big Six. We're nearly finished match week 2. We've still got one game left as a record. Newcastle have not played Liverpool yet as we record this game. I am joined today by my trusty podcast videocasters, Niall Bromley and Anthony Addy, and they've both decided to wear Blythe Spartans. So, Niall, yours looks like a kind of Blythe Spartans top, but it looks like a fake, like you've bought it on a beach in Turkey or something top.
Yeah, so this is a 9th tier Italian team called the San Antonio Spartans. I'm very proud of it. You can't buy this shirt anywhere, so I got given to us as a gift, so it's one of my prized possessions.
Fair enough. So 9th tier means they'll probably a similar level to the actual Blythe Spartans.
No, lower that. These are amateur. The actual Blythe Spartans still get paid just.
I was going to say that they shouldn't get paid though. Tony, you're wearing a lovely Northumberland Blythe Spartans top.
Sure, representing Northumberland.
Fair play. Okay, let's get into the game. So we're going to start with Everton, who opened their new stadium officially with a 2-0 win against Brighton. It was an entertaining game, certainly far more entertaining than Everton's opening day game against Leeds, which was a snore on Monday Night Football. Niall, what are your main sort of takeaways from this one? How important is it to start your opening your new stadium with a victory and having that positive energy, resonate through the team for hopefully the rest of the season?
Yeah, it's very important for them. I did say in the preview podcast that I had Everton to win 2-1, and the reason was simply just because of the stadium. And that is basically what happened today, because I thought Brighton were the better side. Brighton had so many chances. They've hit the woodwork twice. They've had the one blasted over the bar from Danny Welbeck. And then there was the chance where Tarkowski's played him in with that back pass and he's took around the keeper and then not being able to finish. There was just, I think Brighton deserved at least a point from the game. But you've got to take your chances. That's the Premier League. We all know how punishing it is, and that's exactly what happened. They didn't score. Everton have took advantage. First goal, very good goal. Grealish has done excellent work on the left. Great ball into the box, and it's a nice, simple finish for Ndiaye. And then the second goal's a fantastic hit, which, probably a bit too good, which has just gone over the goalkeeper's glove. So good for Everton. I thought the atmosphere was brilliant. Stadium, first looking at it, looks really good, looks really nice. Tidy, smart little stadium. So, yeah, it was important for them to get the win there, just for them and for their history. You don't want to lose your first game in their new stadium. So, good day for Everton. But I don't think, from what I've seen from Brighton today, I know they drew last week and they've got beat today, but they're not going to be anywhere near danger. They're a really good side, Brighton. So, yeah, good day for Everton. Brighton, they just need to start scoring goals, which I'm sure will come.
Yeah, I mean, Danny Welbeck missed a penalty and that kind of summed up their day, didn't it? It was such a tame penalty as well. I thought Jordan Pickford, you just sort of had that feeling with a penalty. I was like, he's going to save this. Certainly with the new stadium and him trying to make his stamp. I mean, even though he's a goalkeeper, he's Everton's main man, isn't he? And he just has balls of steel, and he showed it again.
I mean, he breathes that confidence into that back line, doesn't he? When you've got him behind you, they almost seem to have an extra foot in height, So, yeah, it makes a real big difference. One other player that I really like to highlight is Jack Grealish. Looked really good, almost back to his best. So, yeah, he made a real impact in the game, got 2 assists, and that Ghana goal. If people who are watching haven't seen it, it's worth a look. He really puts his foot through it. The keeper does get a hand to it, but it just powers through. So it's a corker of a goal.
Yeah, Jack Grealish he didn't look like he was like Aston Villa Jack Grealish, which I think is the best version of Jack Grealish we've ever seen. But he certainly looked a bit more free-flowing compared to what he was at Man City. I feel like Pep, sort of drilled into Grealish a different sort of play. I think he took a little bit of the personality out of his game. And I think Niall, I saw in Jack Grealish today a sort of throwback to the Jack Grealish that I loved, a few years ago before he was at Man City. Just his ability, his tenacity. I've really enjoyed his performance. And I'm glad when Everton loaned him, I was so concerned that he wasn't going to be the same player he was a few years ago. And he had such a bad year last year. He wasn't great like the year before. Oh no, the year before was the other one, the triple, wasn't it? So he wasn't great last season. And I just sort of thought it was good to see him looking like the Jack Grealish we all know and love.
It's the big fish thing, isn't it, with him? I think he's the type of player that just needs to be the main man. I think, all the cameras were on him before the game. They emphasised his name on the tannoy a little bit louder than everybody else's, and he got that big roar. And I just think those sorts of players shine when they're that player, when they're the main man. And he's the main man. He was at Aston Villa, and he is now at Everton, certainly ability-wise. So, yeah, I think that's why we're seeing a better version of Grealish today. Can he get back to that level that you're talking about in Aston Villa? Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Yes, he's, 4 or 5 years older than what he was then, but he's certainly got that in him. He's still got his pace. You can tell he's so strong as well. It was right at the start of the game. He had a little battle in the corner with the Brighton right back. I forgot his name, the lad. He's normally a midfielder. I forgot who it was, but he had a bit of a tussle with him, and RG Bargy and Grealish came out on top. And that's what I sort of like about him. He's one of these never say die attitude sort of players. So yeah, I certainly think he can get back to that Aston Villa style Grealish, and yeah, he really impressed me as well today.
Okay, so from positivity at Everton, we've got probably the team with the most negativity surrounding it right now in the Premier League. West Ham lost 5-1 against Chelsea on Friday night, and it was every bit as pathetic as the 3-0 defeat against Sunderland the week before. How worried are we, Anth, about West Ham and where this team is at right now?
I mean, the post-game interview with Graham Potter, he looked shell shocked. He was like almost biting at journalists and the like. But the opening goal, another cracker of a goal from Paqueta, and you kind of thought, oh, actually, could West Ham actually catch Chelsea cold here and come out with something here? But I mean, it was almost like attack versus defense. The disconnect with the team, it was shocking. And they just kept pouring on, and it just didn't look like it. It could have been like a cricket score by the end of the game. It was brutal. It was brutal to watch.
Yeah, and Niall Graham Potter is under pressure, and I think the only sort of saving grace potentially for West Ham is that they've started the season so bad, which means that they won't just plod along like this until October, November. Like if it continues like this, it's like that Mick McCarthy meme, it can't get worse. Well, it can. And if it does keep getting worse than this, they're going to make a change. They'll probably bring in somebody like Sean Dyche. I'm sure he's got his phone on loud, making sure he catches that phone call. That's the only saving grace, I think, for this West Ham team, because I don't see anything in them right now and anything in Graham Potter and the system that he's implementing to suggest that they can go to Nottingham Forest next week and get a result, and then you're going 3 straight defeats to start the season, heading into an international break. I'm not saying West Ham would make a decision on Potter then, but the worse this gets, the quicker they're going to make a decision, which probably means West Ham will have a chance of getting out of what feels like a dire situation after 2 games.
Yeah, and it's exactly what I said about them last week after the Sunderland game. I didn't see a bad team, if that makes sense. I seen a team that just didn't look like what they should look like in the Premier League, as positions wise. They're playing with runners, and they're not running. They're not fighting for every ball. They're not winning first or second balls. You seen that yesterday, as Ant said, they scored a brilliant goal, and you thought that's exactly what they needed after the Sunderland game. They needed something like that, and it was a fantastic strike. And they then got pegged back, but they then scored again. Obviously, it was offside, but when they made it 2-1, you kind of think, there is a bit of fight in this team. And as soon as Chelsea got the second goal, that's when their heads dropped. They looked, as Ant said, it was a bit painful to watch at times. They looked so far away from what they should be. They've got quality all over the pitch, despite what anybody says they have. Aaron Wan-Bissaka's not a bad player. Paqueta's not a bad player. James Ward-Prowse's not a bad player. They've got Potts coming off the bench who looks like an excellent young player who started against Chelsea. I know a lot of West Ham fans wanted him to start against Sunderland, and Rodriguez came in instead. But he looks like he's got something. I think they're not. I think if they make a change early, they've got a very good chance of it just being a slow start of the season. I know the year they finished sixth, they lost their first two games then as well. So it's not the be all and end all. They've been here, they've done it not too long ago. My biggest worry is what you're saying, Connor. I totally agree on when you're on about Nottingham Forest, then the international break. Well, after that, they've got Spurs. So it's, you kind of think, oof. Then they've got Crystal Palace at home, which is their winnable game, because after that, it's Everton away and Arsenal. So you kind of look and you're thinking, I worry where they're going to get that first win from. If they sack Potter, I guess it'll all change. But as you touched on there, who do they bring in to replace Sean Dyche? Probably is the obvious answer, but is he not? Yeah, he's your manager who comes in to save the day when you have rock bottom with 15 games left. I don't think they're at Sean Dyche level stage yet, but I think they need somebody or something to come in and get these lads tactically switched on to what they should be doing, because to me, that looks like the main issue at West Ham.
I don't think that they're stuck in a cycle, Anth, where West Ham have a steady manager. So, you have a Sam Allardyce, a David Moyes. You have one of them types who do a good job in steady the ship, win a European trophy in the case of David Moyes. And then the club, I don't know if it's necessarily to say the fan base, but I think the fan base do certainly expect a certain style of play. You get the club then going, do you know what, we're going to try and change it and bring in a manager who's a bit more progressive, i.e. a Graham Potter, and then it seems to backfire. And I think we've seen this cycle happen a few times at West Ham where they keep having to go back to tried and trusted football and methods, and then they try to be a bit more forward thinking in other appointments. Is that a fair assessment of their situation sort of over the last decade?
So, I mean, you could argue that they've done it twice, because Lopetegui was very much that progressive football and style that they were after. And then they've gone to Potter as well. They're very similar in that respect. Lopetegui is probably a bit more expressive, but, Graham Potter is very much a progressive manager. So, yeah, I'd agree with what you say. And they might have to dial it back, because I know there was a lot of complaints about the way that David Moyes had them playing football, and there was a lot of uproar and fan, the football's terrible and all that, coming out of the fan base. But he got results ultimately, and like you say, as Big Sam prior to him, and they've had a run of those managers who can grind out a result. Might not be pretty, but if you can get points on the board or you can get results, it doesn't matter. As a fan, you want to go and watch an entertaining style of football. So I can understand why the board's kind of looking at it and going, yeah, this isn't great to watch. But you caveat that with results. Yes, it looks good, but that goal difference ain't great. And the further we're going to the season, the more that's going to have an impact. So that clock's definitely ticking for Potter.
Yeah, okay. Let's switch to another team with positive vibes. So Burnley get their first win of the Premier League season. Obviously a blow to me and Niall, who supports Sunderland, but it means that all newly promoted teams have won a game in August, which is something I don't know the last time we saw that happen, but it certainly hasn't happened the last couple of years. So that's a positive. Sort of notes on the game. I thought Burnley looked pretty strong defensively. Sunderland had one clear-cut chance. They had one maybe half chance. Burnley themselves didn't create all that much, but did take it with the moments of quality. And it reminded me a lot of Sunderland's game against West Ham the week before, where the first half, the away team's slightly better. I'd say we're a bit more in control than the second half. The home side were able to sort of turn it on and get the goals when they counted. But Niall, What was your assessment of this? How important is it for Burnley that they actually won this game? Because I think if they dropped points here, it would have felt like they were in for a long, hard season. But now all newly promoted teams are on 3 points. It feels like they've all shown at least what they're capable of and how they will tackle this season, all winning at home as well, which is imperative if you are going to stay up. You have to have good home form.
Yeah, I touched on it last week in the preview show. It felt like a 6-0 already, didn't it? It was such an important game for both teams. But I think Burnley, it was just that little smidge more important in terms of they're at home and they haven't had a win yet. For Sunderland, as you say, Sunderland had 2 chances in the game, big chances, and both of them, well, the first one, my ender, that goes in. It's a different game. As you said, Burnley had 2 big chances really and scored them both. They didn't look as, like I said, defensively solid. Burnley, they did. I thought they looked quite good in midfield as well. They looked pretty solid. I thought Sunderland did for the most part of the game, but I just feel like, I don't know if it was the atmosphere, Connor, whether Burnley being the home team, but it was they just had that little edge to go and get the goals. Obviously, it was a massive blow for Sunderland losing Dan Ballard in the first 5 minutes. He's a key player for Sunderland, and he's gone down with an injury. Sunderland already in the market for a centre back. We've had the John Lucchini from Bologna. He's in a bit of a saga trying to push a move to Sunderland. He's doing a bit of a Wissa and a bit of an Isaac himself. He's trying to push that move. Maybe Sunderland will go that extra level to try and get him now, depending on how bad the Ballard injury is. But for Sunderland, as you touched on there, it's always been about winning your home games. Now, Sunderland have Brentford at home next game. Obviously, we'll touch on that in the preview show. But to me, that now looks like even... I mean, you have to win every game in the Premier League. But Brentford at home is just like West Ham at home in terms of that has to be earmarked with a must win by Sunderland. Because if Sunderland lose again next weekend, people will start there. Oh, well, they're going to get relegated. Yes, only 3 games in. But because they're a newly promoted team, they're going to get relegated. They spent all that money, they're going to get relegated. And you don't want that to start too early. So, big game at the weekend for Sunderland. And, yeah, Burnley, good win for them. Seen more from them than what I thought I was going to see from them. So, yeah, fair play to them. They deserved the win. Took the chances, as was said, and both sides was now going to move on and try and pick something up before the international break.
Yeah, this was an interesting game, man. Not interesting in the sense that it was a good watch, because it definitely wasn't a good watch, but interesting in the sense that I felt every single player on the pitch did their job for both teams. Everyone played out like a 5 or 6 out of 10. Nobody was glaringly making errors or anything. But in the Premier League, I think in the Championship, you can get away with playing not great and still create chances and win games. Whereas in the Premier League, I looked at that game, and to be honest, it felt like a 0-0 game. But Burnley did the thing that Premier League teams do, where they find a way to win a game. And that gave me a lot of encouragement for them for the season, because we all know that they're going to be defensively pretty good. Don't think I'm expecting Burnley to let in 100 goals like Sheffield United did. I don't think any of the newly promoted teams will do that. But I think for me, it's encouraging that they were able to find a moment to win the game in such a tight affair, because that's what they're going to have to do all season, because they're going to rely on the defense, and they were able to do it in a really, really big game for them. And I think they deserve a lot of credit for that.
For me, Josh Cullen stood out as the club captain for the 2 moments. Obviously, the goal that he scored, as well as that through ball for Jadon Anthony for to score the second. What a through ball that is! Perfectly hit, and it just curls into his feet. He doesn't even have to change his run; just takes it in his stride. So he stood out. And the other one is former Newcastle goalkeeper Martin Dubravka. That save for the Mayenda header is brilliant. A really good save. It has to get right across to stop it from going in. So, I do think there was a couple of standouts, and I think Sunderland were a bit unlucky, to be honest, because they played all right. They didn't play brilliantly, but they didn't play poorly either. It's just Burnley took those opportunities. They took the moments in the game that mattered and ran away with the points.
Bournemouth, they beat Wolves. This is Wolves now, 2 straight defeats to start the season. Haven't scored a goal yet, but I think really we have to talk about Bournemouth here. I thought they were impressive. I thought they were impressive on the opening day. They dominated this game, dominated the stat sheet. And I think there was a little bit of concern going into the season because of the players that they've lost, Niall, that they would struggle potentially. But I think I've seen enough in these opening 2 games to suggest that it's probably business as usual for Bournemouth, and they'll finish somewhere between like 13th and 9th. I think that's what this team is. I really like the manager, and I just thought this was good for them to sort of get that season up and running after that opening day thriller at Liverpool.
Yeah, well, they've got tried and tested Premier League players in there, haven't they? Along with their star man in Anton Semenyo, who makes them tick, got the assist as well for Marcus Tavernier's goal. And yeah, they're just a really good footballing team, aren't they? And they've got, as we all know, a superb manager who, that would be my one worry for them, is he could get taken at some point, because, we've seen the turnaround he's done there. He's been phenomenal for them. So there's a good chance there. And I remember everybody thought it was a harsh sacking at the time, didn't they, on Gary O'Neill and deciding to bring Areola in. But what a job he's done. So yeah, I really do. I think Bournemouth have, they've got some good players, and they probably will do that mid-table sort of finish. I'm not sure they'll get 5th. I think, was it you that put them 5th, Connor?
I had Brighton 5th.
Oh, Brighton. Sorry, Brighton. Yeah, well, I don't think they'll be up there. But yeah, I thought the game, to be fair, the sending off, I don't know about you two, but that sending off is one of them ones that I hate in football. Because yes, he's last man, and yes, it's a goal-scoring opportunity. But what else is he supposed to do? Evan Nielsen is always going to go down the minute he feels any contact. He's going to go down. But the defender can't just let him run through. He can't just stand there and let him run through. He's got to do something, and he's barely touched him. Evan Nielsen knows exactly what he's doing. I'm going to go down, and they get the red card. And by that point, I mean, Wolves are never going to come back into that game. We're down to 10 men. It's very hard to do in any division, but especially the Premier League. So I just found it, I don't know about you two, but that sending off is, I don't like them types of sending off. I wish that they'd look into it. I know the rule. If there's contact, I get the rule, and it's right because of the rule. But they need to look into it, and they need to think, well, has he played for that? Has he played for it? And if he has, give him a yellow card. But I don't know about you two. That was just my views on it.
Yeah, I feel like these are like sort of, let's say, common sense decisions. But like for me, I thought it was incredibly harsh. But letter of the law, the referee's not made a mistake. I will say that. There was no mistake there, because I think there was ever so slight contact. But I just don't know if contact is enough to justify completely changing a game. Well, I mean, I'd say changing a game. Bournemouth were already winning, but changing a game in the respect that it made it far harder for Wolves. Tony, quickly, what was your view on this one? Do you think it was harsh? Do you think it was the right decision?
Very similar to the sending off at Villa the other week with Conser. Gordon feels that contact on his shoulder and he goes down. So there's similarities there. Harsh, it's the rules, isn't it? It's hard to argue with that. So yes, it'll be a hammer blow to Wolves going forward. To lose their captain for the next couple of games as well. So it's going to have an impact going forward. It's not good for Wolves either.
No, it's not looking good for Wolves. But we'll not digress too much on Wolves this week. We'll wait until the win a game of football before we do a bit more of a deep dive on them. Brentford, though, they beat Aston Villa, and sort of feel like Brentford have made us all... I mean, obviously it's so early in the season, but we were all expecting... I mean, certainly we were. I looked at our predictions. We all had Aston Villa winning. I think Tony had them winning 3-0 there, so he was well wrong on this one. Were we too early to judge Keith Andrews, or is this just I don't know what the word would be, but is this just an early season Premier League game where both teams are kind of finding their feet and Brentford have that one sort of moment of quality that wins them the game? Niall, what's your sort of take on Brentford winning this one?
Yeah, Brentford were okay. They had chances. Aston Villa didn't have that many chances. Aston Villa had all the possession. I'm sure the possession stats, let's just double check, but I'm sure the possession stats were, Aston Villa 76% possession. So I'm sorry, but you're going to struggle if you play that way in the Premier League. You're gonna struggle to get results having so little possession. On the other hand, they took that chance. It was a great finish. Their new boy, who they just signed from Bournemouth, it was a very good finish. Where he cut through really well. The goalkeeper made a good save, and then he managed to score. It was a good goal. But I don't know. I'm not going to say it's a one-off, but Aston Villa are a team with a little bit of things aren't quite going quite right there at the minute. I don't think they've had the best transfer window. They haven't brought many players in. The standout was probably Morgan Rogers, who probably had the best chance of the game, hit the side netting. After that, I don't think they had much else. Against Newcastle as well, you see with Aston Villa, they didn't create much. And if anything, they actually looked a little bit better when they were down to 10 men, which always kind of rings alarm bells to me a little bit when that happens. So, yeah, I kind of feel like, I don't know. I still don't think Brentford. I still think Brentford will get relegated. That's just my opinion. I could be massively wrong there. I'm not writing Keith Andrews off. I just feel like it's nothing really to do with Keith Andrews. It's more the fact that they've just sold too many key players and not replaced them. That's my main take on it. Other than Ouattara, who's come in and scored the goal. But yeah, I think it's one of them good performance of getting the result. Possession stats don't look great. Only 2 shots on target isn't the best, but they've won the game, and that's the most important thing for them.
I would say Brentford probably played to not have possession, to be fair to them. So, that would have been it's not like they were out-possessed because they couldn't get the ball. I suspect they went, you know what, you have the ball and we'll play off you. But, sorry now. Cut you off there, did I?
No, I was just going to say, I get that point, and I think that can work, but 24% possession isn't enough. I know what you're saying.
You can't do it every week.
But, yeah, that does me point.
Antho, Villa, tough start. 1 point, no goals scored. Probably not what they were expecting. When the fixture list spitted out a home game against Newcastle, it was a rival for Europe, and then an away game at Brentford, they were probably expecting to get 4 points, not just the one. It's too early to be worried about Villa, but I just sort of feel like, as Niall said, the fact I haven't been able to bring in really any players just feels like it's a little bit stale there right now.
Could certainly do with a bit of freshening up, couldn't it? Those 3 letters looming large over them again, PSR. So yeah, a bit of a kick in the teeth. I expected them to go and actually give Brentford a hell of a game, and they were caught on the counter. Ouattara does great, to get past. It comes back off the keeper, doesn't it? And there's a stroke of luck in the ball coming into his feet for the finish. But short of that, really, there wasn't really much else to talk about. It was quite a stagnant game, really, and you expect a bit more from players like Morgan Rogers, and that creativity that they've got on the side. You expect them to push Brentford that bit harder, but there's something lacking. Like we talked about there before, they definitely need somebody to come in and give them that bit of energy and that drive and push these players that are established to a different level, because it's just so much is just not working at the moment. So hopefully for the Villa fans, they can get somebody through the door.
Fulham, they drew on Super Sunday. Was it a Super Sunday? I don't know. It was an alright Sunday, I suppose. Fulham, though, draw with Man United 1-1. I thought it was pretty solid from Fulham. I thought it was it was just a draw, had draw written all over it for me. I thought it was a really, really sort of, I don't want to say bland, but there just wasn't much happening, though there was a comical penalty miss from Bruno Fernandes. I know we don't necessarily talk about the big 6 teams, but it is worth mentioning that he ballooned a ball over the bar from 12 yards. But Niall, Fulham, 2 draws to start the season. I just sort of feel like Fulham, again, they are a little bit stale. They haven't really done much. I don't think they've done anything in the transfer market. Actually, I wouldn't say not much. I don't think they've done anything yet. just sort of feels like they're going to plod along nicely in mid-table, and we're probably not going to have too much to talk about with them this season because they're solid, they're functional, they've got a good manager who knows how to get points in the Premier League. But I think they could really do with a couple of additions if they want to push and try and get towards sort of the top 8 this season.
Yeah, I felt like the struggle to break Man United down today, and Man United didn't really look good at all for me, to be honest. So, a bit of a shame in that sense. They'll find themselves quite hard done by the goal. It's one of them. I know we have a joke about this, Connor, but it's one of them. You know, hands on his back. Is it a foul? Do other teams get that decision? It's one of them, and it's a bit of a strange one. I certainly wouldn't be happy if a team I supported conceded a goal like that. So it wasn't great, but yeah, I agree. Fulham. I mean, I don't want to annoy any Fulham fans if they're watching, but they just bore the life out of me. Like they just, honestly, they just don't do anything like exciting. And you know, they're trying to bring in that Kevin from Shakhtar, I've watched him on, I've seen clips, he looks good. Sunderland were linked with him earlier in the window, so I watched some clips and he does look like he's got that little bit extra for them. But other than that, they're just, I mean, they've got a few exciting players, Emile Smith-Rowe being one of them, but I think he struggled to get anything off today. So yeah, I don't think they're going to be in danger, like you said. I think they're just going to be plod on, steady in the middle, boring, basically.
I think it's a bit harsh on Smith-Rowe when he scored like 90 seconds after coming on. So, yeah. Finally, Anthony, we'll talk about Leeds, battered at Arsenal. And we're going to look at this from the Leeds perspective, though, because it's a hard game for them. It's a harsh reality check. They missed one chance header from a corner early on, but it just felt like they were never really in this game. And I don't know if they'll learn anything from this because it was such a hammering, but maybe they will get something from this to sort of learn how not to play one of the better teams in the Premier League.
Yeah, it was a learning curve, put it that way. We did kind of see this coming to a degree. It was hard to watch at points. So yeah, difficult and a bit of a shoe-in, to put it politely. What can they take from the game? There's big questions there. I think Daniel Farke afterwards was a bit taken aback by the result. Thought they had done enough. I really didn't see that, if I'm honest. I didn't see what he was seeing. So hopefully, you know, he's far more qualified than I am. He's seeing something and he's seeing the progress. But that was difficult to watch at times.
Yeah, it was difficult to watch, but that can happen in the Premier League. Every team can take a batter, and you're just going to have to take your medicine and move on. But thanks, guys. We're out of time. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Beyond the Big Six. Please, everyone, let us know in the comments how wrong we are on our takes. I'm sure we made plenty of mistakes throughout, so point them out as well. And we'll catch you for the next episode, our predictions, which will be out on, I think, Wednesday, where we'll be wearing the same thing because we're recording these back to back because I'm on holiday next week. So thanks everyone for watching. Thanks, Anne. Thanks, Niall, for joining us, and we'll catch you for the next one.